One thing that stood out for me in today's lesson is that you cannot live on somebody else's testimony. Eventually, you have to experience God for yourself. Now think about this for a moment. The generation that crossed over the Jordan were not the same generation that had crossed through the Red Sea. Oh, make no mistake, this generation grew up hearing the stories of Moses and the burning bush. They heard about the 10 plagues of Egypt. And of course, how it was that their grandparents and parents had crossed through the Red Sea as if they were walking on dry land. And those stories were great to hear around a campfire. But truth be told, they were somebody else's experience with God. And while they can help to encourage us, the truth is, another person's faith cannot replace your own. At some point, you have to step out in faith and walk through your own waters. At some point, you're going to have to share your conversion story with another person. At some point, you're going to have to pray over the sick, volunteer to help, get involved in a ministry. At some point, you're going to have to move out of your comfort zone and engage people. Sometimes it means that you are going to have to make the first move before God moves. Sometimes you're going to have to act like God has already parted the waters before the waters even move. What I'm getting at is that you will never experience a miracle if you don't find yourself in a place where a miracle is required, and that can be an uncomfortable place to be. Now, I don't know about you, but I like to be in a place where I'm fully in control of the situation, because then I know, or I think I know, that I can control the outcome. But when you have to step out in faith, you're not the one who's in control. God is. When the priests stepped into the water, the only thing that they had control over was their feet. When David went up against Goliath, what he had control over was his feet. When Elijah was told to speak to King Ahab, all he had control over was his feet. And when God told Abraham to pack up and move, all he had control over was his feet. In other words, when God told them to do something, they moved in the direction that God told them to move. They couldn't control the outcome. All they could control was their faith and their feet. They moved in faith and God parted the waters. And all of them had their own personal testimony as to the goodness of God. The point of today's lesson is simply this. It is easier to move in faith based on your relationship with God rather than somebody else's relationship.